What's up, y'all? Happy Wednesday. It's Joe Doug, Justin Wells. It is James Hayden here for another Wednesday Night Live here on the Inside Texas YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And, of course, head to InsideTexas.com. You can get 1 week of access. So, from now until Christmas, for just $1. That means portal editions. That means playoff. That means hopefully another playoff game to cover. You'll have it all over on Inside Texas, and check it out for $1. Thank you for joining. We'll talk a little bit of portal. We'll talk a little bit about Texas versus Clemson in the college football playoff. Talk about some other news that's gone on around the sport. We see the Mateer news. We may get to that in a little bit. Yeah, just to see what it means for Texas, for Oklahoma. We got a resident Wildcat in here, and the Kentucky is looking for a quarterback too that Texas will have to figure out. But I'm curious, James, you're a proud Westlake grad. I think were you there at least? Did you overlap a little bit with Klubnik in those state title wins?
I'm a couple years older than him, so we were that last class before we had guys like Cade Klubnik. So, yeah, our quarterback was a little 5'10" ginger kid. And so my friends still contest that if not for a few injuries, they would have been the ones to win state. But, yeah, Cade's a beast. People forget that after Quinn, enrolled early, Cade's the number one quarterback in that 2022 class. So this kid is special. I knew it. I remember going and running routes with him, just with one of my friends that was a receiver, just kind of goofing off. And he has a cannon. Like, just the difference between even him being a little bit younger than us and our friend who was the starting quarterback. They moved Cade up for the playoffs. And, my friends who were receivers are like, he just throws it like it felt like to them. They're like, oh, this is already a D1 ball. And this is when he was 15. Like, just the velocity on his passes is great. He's got good arm strength. And the thing he brings to the table is his mobile. So that's something we've seen more out of him this year. He's got over 40 total touchdowns on the season.
Yeah.
He's legit. Yeah, he's legit. And that game-winning run against Pitt, it's been really fun to watch because he's a Westlake kid. But, yeah, he's great. He's very athletic, more speed than people give him credit for sure. I think that might be something they'll try on us, but I think that's something that Texas has shown the ability to set the edge against running quarterbacks. But I think the average fan that maybe doesn't watch a ton of Clemson, the ACC is kind of down now, doesn't realize that he is a legit dual threat quarterback. And with those freshman wide receivers, this Clemson offense is finally starting to hum a little bit. So yeah, it is something to watch. It's probably the best offense maybe we've played on the year. I'm trying to think. Who would you say is better? But I'm just with those freshman receivers, like Clemson's great on offense. They're finally letting Garrett Riley run some of his air raid stuff over there. Klubnik is a fun one to watch. It'll just, we'll see if he's able to run against Texas in his homecoming game.
Yeah, there's a good argument you can make that this may be the most challenging offense Texas has faced. I think if you do Georgia with Beck, Etienne, full offensive line, that's a tough crew to face, right. Delp and Urasek. But these guys, and I know we have that head-to-head result from week 1 where Clemson did not score a touchdown.
They're different
at the same time. Yeah,
that was
week 1. Both of those teams are different.
Both of those teams are way different. And this is a good point from our guy, Mr. 2 times. Cade is going to be the most mobile quarterback you've seen all year. And I'm trying to think.
Diego, come on.
The Italian Manziel, shout out, who got his 6th year.
Diego Pavia, that dude was, I would call pretty mobile. I don't know about y'all, but I'm already wondering what that Vanderbilt game is.
He's probably slower than Cade, though. I feel like he's a little more.
Oh no, he's slower than Cade. He's not as athletic. He's more of the Sam Ehlinger body, that running
even
style.
Smaller version of Sam Ehlinger, though.
Yeah, hero body running style, but mobile. I'll give you more athletic. He might. And I don't know if Taylor Green is more athletic than Cade, just not as polished, just not near as polished. Didn't get to see Lagway. He would have been. He's more of a pocket guy anyway. It's going to be interesting. James and I were talking yesterday, and I was at the South Lake Carroll Westlake State Championship in 2020. And guys, I got to tell you, it was obvious that Quinn was the better passer, but Cade was the gamer. Cade was the winner. Cade was the guy that made plays on third down, that moved the chains, that got the most out of his ability. And that's why you had to tip your cap that day. Westlake was a better team, and Cade was the better gamer that day. And I honestly think we're going to see the best version of both those guys on Saturday.
Well, yeah, and I think Cade might have gotten a little bit of that Westlake, winning, do it at all costs kind of from Sam. He does have that similar, like, I'll leave it all out on the field type of deal.
Yes.
He loves Clemson. He loves Dabo. He's become a great program guy for them. It's really good to watch. He's a great leader for them. Yeah. But, yeah.
That's as much Todd Dodge
as
it was.
Yeah. He's got a similar competitive edge as someone like Sam did.
Yeah.
I do like this from Victor Santiago. The best defenses Clemson has faced this year has been Georgia, and they only got 3 points. And that was at the beginning of the year. In South Carolina, where they only tabbed up 14. I highly doubt they'll put 20 against our defense. And, Georgia has a complete defense. They're really strong on that defensive line, have all-American linebackers, have great defensive backs, kind of like Texas does. But in South Carolina, a little bit different. They have one good defensive back who stands out above the rest. Then they have a really strong defensive front with some fantastic edge guys.
Yeah.
And those are the two teams that gave that offense a lot of fits. But, Justin, here's another thing. When PK can plan for running quarterbacks this year, he shut them down. And that includes Orji. Orji didn't do anything this year in the very limited opportunities he had with Michigan. Michael Hawkins, not anything was really gained. Taylon Green really struggled. Yeah, Van Buren. Van Buren did okay. He may have done He may have done better than any of these guys we're talking about, like better than Marcel Reed even.
Yeah.
But this all goes back to he shut him down. And you know who was offensive coordinator in 2022 when TCU came to town, beat Texas 17-10, Garrett Riley. And there were two plays where Texas messed up. One was, I think, Anthony Cook and Terrence Brooks on a coverage bust. The other, I think, was either Ovia Gofo or Baron Sorrell. Someone on the edge messed up, and Kendra Miller went 75 yards. Busts are bad. This Clemson team can beat you downfield, and you don't want to have busts down there. And Jeff G holding on Jarrett Wiley on that play. But this is a scheme and a style that PK is really familiar with.
That's it. And, I'm going to put on my Ian Boyd cap for like 30 seconds because he would answer this much better than I can. That's what when you give PK, look, there's no more doubting this defense. There's no more doubting PK. I think we're way past that part. Pete Kwiatkowski was a finalist for the Broyles Award for a reason. Like, this guy has really put together a great package of defensive players. And at the end of the day, when you give them a chance to prep, if it's a dual quarterback, I actually feel more confident in Texas against a dual threat than I do a pure pocket guy. A pure pocket guy, if you give him enough time, a good quarterback can pick you apart even in good coverage. A dual threat, you don't really know. And I think that goes to the offense too. They don't always really know. And so they're so good at setting the edge. They're so good at containment. They're so good at their assignments. And when you let Anthony Hill spy, good things happen. Real good things happen. When you get Colin Simmons peeling his ears back, that's a good thing. And Trey Moore in the last month might be the best edge player in Austin. And so PK's got the parts and the toys to combat this. I just know Clemson's going to come in with a ton of confidence. They feel like they got nothing to lose, and this is Cade's homecoming, so they've got to be ready.
Yeah, to that point.
Trying to think.
Yeah, I was just going to say, going off the last couple of comments, doesn't think that Clemson will score 20. I actually agree with that. I think, while I'm rooting for Cade, love the guy. He's a great quarterback, great competitor.
Just not Saturday.
It's just not set for Clemson to be able to move the ball well. That's the thing is what to piggyback off of what Justin's saying. We have the dudes. Trey Moore is built for a game like this. When if Cade wants to try and get out of the pocket, they're going to set the edge. They're going to QB contain him well. And then our DBs, we have the Thorpe Award winner. You got Michael Taft, who's the highest graded, I believe, DB in the college football playoff. So, I mean, it's probably not going to be a favorable result for them. And, going back to 2022, we were able to stifle Garrett Riley's offense there. So, and that was a team that was the national runner-up. So I just think that Clemson's going to have trouble moving the ball. And yes, while their offense looked a lot better down the home stretch, they struggled when they faced real defenses such as South Carolina and Georgia, as some of the commenters have pointed out. They have not been able to put up those 30-point games against their stiffer competition. So I wouldn't worry about our defense at all.
And to piggyback off that, the defense, I think he's right. I don't think Clemson can put 20 up. Can Texas score 20?
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's going to be that's actually the question we need to be asking ourselves. And that's a silly thing you think at the beginning of the season, in the summertime, in last spring. Can Texas score 20 in a playoff? We have seen a field goal fest in the last 4 weeks. And so and now listen, Clemson is very susceptible to the big play. Well, Texas hasn't really been dialing up many big plays. Something's got to give there. I'm not worried about Clemson scoring 20 or under because I think Texas defense is going to hold them to that and less. I'm wondering how the offense is going to get in the end zone, not move the ball. Texas can move the ball up and down the field. They move the ball on Georgia like it was their job. They move the ball up and down on Texas A&M for fun. It's getting in the end zone. It's not relying on sideshow Bob. It's getting in the end zone, in the red zone. If they do that, they'll run away with this thing on Saturday. If they don't, it's going to be another nail biter.
Yeah, it could be a 17-13 game.
Yeah.
Going through some comments. Is Clemson's backup quarterback a pocket quarterback? Hate to defense get snookered again by the quarterback style they had prepared for. Looking up, it's Chris Vizina, I think is how you pronounce it.
That's a shot. That's a shot from Gunner. That's a Gunner Stockton shot is what
it is. But
and it's kind of silly.
Hey,
it's a little silly.
Texas knocked Carson Beck out of the game, and I don't think Stockton was too
Gunner
much
out too.
I don't think Stockton was too much different than what not Helm. I'm mixing my Gunners up than what Carson Beck provided.
He was a spark. He was a spark.
Yeah, that was more
didn't have the downfield passing acumen that Beck does, but he had the athleticism. And Mike Bobo is a smart enough play caller to be like, okay, this guy can run. Let's give him the easy stuff. And they did that. And when you have Georgia talent, the easy stuff's easy. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Vizina, I think that's how you pronounce it, isn't very far off from the style that Cade Klubnik plays. Is he going to be Klubnik? Probably not. I don't think there are very many quarterbacks in the playoff left that are like Klubnik. And if they are, I don't think there are two of them on Clemson's roster. And here's the other thing. They're going to keep that in mind. Like, they're not going to go into this blind and be like, who is that guy? Like, oh, my God. Like, that teams don't let that happen. Now, granted, there are only so many hours in a week. There's only so much time. You can only do so much. But they're not going to be just caught completely off guard by someone. They may be surprised, but not like, who is this guy taking the field? Are all the first-round playoff teams putting first round on their jerseys? I'd have to assume. I saw that. I think it was Taylor Sarles posted a picture of the playoff logo on the field. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look bad. But
it looks better than the Walmart logos all over Arkansas's field. Hey, if you're in the playoff and you're hosting it, let's remind everybody that bought a ticket on Saturday. Yeah. Let's remind everybody when they walk in, hey, this is a different game than the rest. I love the college football stuff on the field. I love the patch. That's a jersey they're going to take with them the rest of their life. I love that. Hey, if you get to this stage, give them some love. I'm kind of digging the patch. I would like to see the Final Four patch. I'd like to see the national championship patch, but we got to go 1 week at a time.
Was that on the field when we were there? When we were there on
no,
they put it on. They did that within the past couple days.
Yeah, I think they started yesterday and finished today.
Where did you see the picture at?
All over social media. You should try it.
Taylor Sarles, one of the.
I think the Texas side has also pushed stuff out.
Right, but she showed the one on the field.
One, yeah.
She showed the one on the field and the Texas.
Taylor Sarles, is that the name?
Yeah.
What?
We'll keep
like a major cog in the recruiting department, James.
I'm not in the recruiting part.
He's
not a little lesson about Taylor. Her dad was the O-line coach for Mac Brown for years, Stacy Searles, who's actually the O-line coach at Georgia right now. Taylor's very good at her job, so
it's not on her
follow. She's good. She's good.
We follow her.
Oh yeah,
but I don't see it on the.
Maybe I missed it.
Media.
We'll keep on going.
It's there.
12 personnel on the cards for us. If it's a day that ends in Y, yes. Steve Sarkisian uses 2 tight end sets. It opens up an extra gap, or it creates an extra gap in the run game.
Yeah.
It creates an opportunity for max protect. They trust Gunnar Helm. They trust Juan Davis. They've started to add more trust to Amari Niblack. The real question is, when are they going to maybe trot out Malik Agbo? They haven't used it all year. Usually they kind of use it as a cheat code against the, Big 12, 3 safety, 3 down lineman defenses. They haven't seen any of those this year, or if they have, they've seen it in small doses. So maybe this is an opportunity where they give that a try. Trying to go through this. Broyles Award postseason. They wait till late because I remember Sark had taken the job before they announced the Broyles Award for the 2020 season.
No, after the season.
After the season, okay.
Right. Keep on going. Yeah, Mr. 2 times. Vizina is a dual threat, but he's no Klubnik, kind of as anticipated.
Well, on that, also, the surrounding pieces are not near as good as George's.
I was about to say.
Yeah, Trevor Etienne ain't walking through that door, and Phil Moffa at full health may not be that good.
Yeah, and 2 NFL tight ends and stuff. It's not – the easy looks are not there for a backup quarterback at Clemson, coming in at Georgia.
Justin, I like this one. Who's a better coach, Sark or Dabo? You have to go with the guy that has a natty, right? He doesn't have just one; he has 2 at this point.
And Sark has 2, 3, maybe.
Not as a head coach.
No one said head coach. They said better coach. Hey, we got to think Riddle style. You never know. Look, you don't go with the guy that's won the natty. You know why? Larry Coker. You know why? Gene Chizik.
One.
Right. That's why. Chiswick's got 2.
Mac Brown.
Technically, Mac Brown. You don't go with the guy that naturally has the natty, but you have to acknowledge Dabo had. Listen, the guy. This is what he's great at. The guy made a nice run at Clemson when the SEC was at its peak. He went toe to toe with anybody in the playoff from Ohio State, Big Ten teams, and then he would get an SEC team and he would thump them. To me, that's the most impressive thing about Swinney, and it was all those D-line classes they had signed for back-to-back years. They had some of the best front 4 guys you could ever imagine. Right now, if we're in the now, I'm saying Steve Sarkisian's a better coach. And because college football is different right now than when Dabo won those natties only 5 or 6 years ago. It's a whole new perspective. And so I think Sark is better. Clemson just signed their first portal guy 2 or 3 days ago. The portal's been a thing for years. So I'm going to go with Sark because I think he's more ready for it now. And I do give Sark credit for being instrumental in Alabama's national titles, USC's national titles. But you have to acknowledge when Dabo had that run, they did it against the SEC's best, and they won more than they lost.
Yeah, and that was a totally different era because, like you're saying, transfer portal. It's weird to think that was only 5-6 years ago when Dabo was honestly his mini run was as good as Kirby's, if not better, because he blew out. He blew out.
Yeah, he beat Saving Bama.
The transfer portal changed everything, and now they've gone from that to where they're kind of like a team, 13 through 18 best program right now. It's it's a shame he hasn't adapted to it, but Dabo was, to me, always seemed like more of a rah-rah guy, more of a motivational guy than less of a.
I think you're right.
His background was wide receiver coach. That's what he was on Bowden's staff.
From Alabama, right?
And I think there may have been a time when he called some plays before he's like, oh, let me get that Chad Morris guy.
That changed a lot.
He's got some offensive chops to him. And T. Higgins and Justin Ross went to Clemson because they're like, my head coach is a wide receiver guy.
And so did Sammy Watkins. And
right, exactly. It goes back for a while.
Yeah.
I think Sark is fantastic. He's paid top 5 in the sport, deservedly so. But it's hard for me to argue that a guy with 0 national championships as a head coach is better than the guy with 2. But here's the other thing. Give it 10, 15 years. We'll see what happened. If you talked to me before this season started, I would have said Sark is definitely a better coach than Mac Brown in spite of the 1 ring to the 0. But that's just different. One thing we do have to get a word in for is Prize Picks. And I'm going to read this one out. Not doing the video this time. Guys, you can already – well, I don't think Maction's going on. But you can get $50 instantly if you play $5. Use the code Inside Texas. And I've already got some lineups. Some squares selected. No, it's lineups. You can go that way. Here we go. Bird Auburn, more than 1.5 field goals made. Risky proposition, I know. Hajj Malik Williams tonight. The Rebels play the Cal Bears, more than 177.5 passing yards. Here's my other one. Quinn Ewers, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Nico Iamaleava, less than 185.5 passing yards. I think you take less than anything on Nico, especially against this Ohio State defense.
Probably right.
If you want to do anything like this in the best that you can get, go to Prize Picks. New user offer, play $5, get $50 instantly. You now have the ability to win up to 1,000 times your own money. And since it's December, Christmas is in a week. Hope you went shopping. But if you haven't yet, you can get the best you need from Pickmas for free picks, discounts, free lineups, and more coming at you all month long. So make sure you go to Prize Picks, use the code Inside Texas, follow them on social media, and make sure you get involved in the very best of daily fantasy and more.
Brandon Simmons has something we can talk about. He says we still have no ranked wins. And I've seen that. We've seen that a bunch of times across social media in the last 2 or 3 weeks. You know what's funny? How many teams this year knocked them out of rankings? Like they had ranked matchups all year long, but at some point they kept knocking guys out of the rankings.
They beat ranked teams, and then the ranked teams were unranked right after.
Exactly. And so I've seen that argument go back and forth, and I just wanted people to see the other side of the spectrum. Like there was a lot of times Texas played a lot of ranked teams. They just knocked them out of being ranked. And so, but Brandon does have a point. This would be good. This would be a good one for their first one.
Yeah, I mean, when people always say, "Oh, well, they're not ranked now. Look at them now." Well, what were they when they played? I think you can do that kind of the middle to the later part of the season. You know, Oklahoma obviously turned out to be a dud, but Michigan had a kind of a second half resurgence, right? I mean, they played Indiana close. Indiana's an 11-1 team, and then they walked into Columbus and just beat down Ohio State emotionally. That one was
a better roster.
Yeah, and Ohio State lost at home, right? I mean, Michigan went in and bullied them, and Texas walked in there and just shoved their face in the dirt and beat them by 30 and could have won by more. So I mean, I think it's just when you look at A&M, what's Notre Dame's best win? A&M, right? And Texas walked in there and should have won 31-0.
Is that Notre Dame's best win this year?
Yeah, at A&M. And so a lot of these teams, like the second half of the year, why is A&M not ranked? Well, because Texas walked in there and beat them, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's something to think about. And OU, and so when people get in the comments and go like, oh, well, Texas didn't play Bama or didn't play Ole Miss. Yeah, well, who did Ole Miss lose to? Yeah, Kentucky right there. And Florida right there. There's Tim Tebow, right? So, I mean, when people say that, Bama lost 24-3 and couldn't even score against Oklahoma. So, I mean, they played the SEC schedule. They played it week by week. To say it wasn't hard is just foolish. It's a casual take. They walked through their schedule. They lost to Georgia because of some, just some poor situational football, honestly, in both games, more so the second one. So, I mean, to say they don't have a ranked win currently, that's true, I guess. But next 2 weeks, next 4 weeks, they could stack them up. Let's hope.
You know what else is fascinating about how the SEC has scheduled things? Texas has faced Georgia more than Texas A&M since Texas A&M has been in the SEC.
I saw that one. Oh,
I'm
man.
like, come on, guys. What are we doing here? I mean, you want freebies? That you're getting them from Sankey right there. They're still not on the schedule next year.
I know. And
if Georgia shows up to College Station, it would be like a new game. Like, we're in the same conference? Because we've only played each other one time in the last 35 years.
And to that point, they've escaped. They've only had to play Kentucky once since joining the conference.
to the point about the ranked wins thing, in that right at the end of the second third of the season, that's when everybody was freaking out, and their strength of schedule was in like the 50s. Water found level, and Texas strength of schedule ended up in like the top 25.
Yeah,
so that freak out at the
I
time was not worth it. Is there anything Clemson can copy from Georgia's defense? Here's the thing, TJ, they can copy a lot of what Michael Williams did and apply that with TJ Parker. They can apply and also, Peter Woods, I think, a little bit as well.
Yeah.
They can use some of what Malachi Starks did with RJ Mickens, but
Mickens is a baller.
The same dudes that are Clemson does not have the same dudes. No. So maybe schematically, Georgia changed it up a little bit, went to some even fronts, went to, a little bit less of clogging up the middle and letting, Williams and Walker work and instead just played them a little bit more honest. We'll see. But at the same time, like the same dudes that were wearing red and black are not wearing Clemson orange and white. LPP, I think this is what you know me. Do. If you want to watch some real ball, turn on the Shiner Comanches playing in the 2A state finals right now. That is a powerhouse. Are they? I know Shiner is the Comanches. Are they playing Comanche, Texas?
Oh God! I did a preview and I can't even remember that. Are they playing? No, that's Columbus.
He can let us know, but Shiner.
Yeah, let us know. Quincy Jones. Watch Quincy Jones. He wasn't just a great musical producer in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. He's a great running back for Shiner. He's got like 1,800 yards this year.
Munster, Texas.
And if you have Suddenlink and Optimum and the Bally's was cut off of your programming, call them and complain. I have a scheduled appointment with them every day because I can't see a stitch of.
I think it's FanDuel Sportsbook,
right? But our thing hasn't picked that up yet.
FanDuel Network, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
FanDuel broadcast high school sports.
They're sponsoring it, a network that's doing it for this because Bally screwed up everything, and the servers did, or their service department did, or whatever. So it's messed up this year. Most people could just turn on their cable and be able to watch it. It's not like that this year.
Wait, who's Westlake playing? I should know that, but I don't.
North Crowley, right? I think North Crowley.
North Crowley, are they good?
Well, they're in the state finals.
Yeah, well, I mean, usually whether it's North Shore, South Lake.
James, you got to homework when you get on this thing, man.
North Crowley beat Duncanville to get to this point.
James gonna have to do some homework. Listen, they beat Duncanville to get here. North Crowley has the top prospect in the entire state of Texas in John Turntine, a 2026 offensive tackle. Ray Gates has done stuff at North Crowley that no one could ever have predicted, and they're not slowing down. They are only stocking up. We will be there for full coverage as well. But I'm trying to think who. I think Wesley plays North Crowley. I think that's the match.
You're spinning. What happened to Fox Sports Southwest? That's what I want to know. That is where
Valley screwed it up.
Football was.
Shiner's playing Munster, not Herman Munster, not Munster cheese, Munster, and then you got North Crowley and Westlake. Yeah,
Coach said, "Come on, James."
South Lake Carroll and Charlie Vandergrift. Man, that's going to be a game of a lot of blonde hair.
No doubt about it.
Allen Park and Smithson Valley is that first one. Buddy, people are going to sleep through that.
Let's talk real quick about the OU news. They're getting Mateer, the Washington State quarterback, out of the transfer portal. Haven't seen the rumor about the branches. I know, obviously, we wrote a little bit about wide receiver. Eric Naline did on Inside Texas, which you should go check out. But let's start with the Mateer thing. What's y'all's first reaction to that? He was a great quarterback this year in the pseudo Mountain West. Thoughts on that? I mean, it seems like it's an immediate upgrade, but how much does it help?
It seems like it's the only way to keep Venables on life support. You cannot go into the spring with Michael Hawkins being your starting quarterback. You can't do that. You would be on the hottest seat possible going into the 2025 season. I think Mateer gives them confidence going into the season. Hey, we can close that gap a little bit more. Gamer of a kid, great productive quarterback. I think this was instrumental for Oklahoma. If they don't get a quarterback, they may be worse next year. And they were bad this year. So I think it was almost life support saving getting a kid like that.
Yeah, but the thing is they've gotten absolutely gutted with Farouk leaving, Nick Anderson leaving. I mean, that transfer list is long and getting longer. So they're going to need some skill position players. So they would need Branch. They're going to need a lot more, or it's going to be, like Dylan Gabriel's 2022 season. You can have Mateer, and he's good. He's a great dual threat guy. I watched a lot of Pac-2 football actually on the CW network this year. But yeah, he's a great quarterback, great dual threat. But yeah, if their O-line still beat up like it has been, I mean, obviously they got some good commitments. It might be tough sledding for them. And I think Justin put it best, saying life support. Like that's going to keep him. If he can inch to like an 8-4 record with Mateer, that would save him. But it's going to be hard with all those receivers leaving, and that O-line. The O-line they're going to have to probably.
Charlie called him mid-tier, and I'm telling you right now, that's going to be his name. That's going to be his name until next October. We're calling him mid-tier.
Watch his highlights. I hate that he went to Oklahoma. He's pretty swaggy.
I know. He's really good. And listen, Oklahoma's going to get those guys. They're still a big-time program in college football, whether Texas wants to admit it or not. It was so critical for them to get that, not just from a getting ready in the spring, getting ready for 2025, from a logistics standpoint, from an optics standpoint, that fan base is just destroyed right now. And that right there gave them a little bit of sense of life.
Hey, Oklahoma welcomes Michigan in week 2 to their home in Norman. That'll be a big test. Now, if you want to welcome people to your home in a new home in Central Texas, there's one person you need to call.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Thank you, LC. Guys, we're going to go to one of my favorite types of questions, and it's a binary question. Texas were to lose in the first round, would this still be considered a successful season? And I think the answer is a strong no, especially when you have the quarterbacks you have, the defense you have, number 1 in the country or number 2 in the country, the offensive skill talent you have. If you lose in the first round to the 12 seed, this is not a successful season. And I'm kind of the opinion that you probably, with the way the bracket looks, need to get back to the Final Four, especially if you've been ranked in the top 4 all year. And then at that point, you're playing Oregon, you're playing Georgia, you're playing, one of those top teams, Notre Dame, maybe. I know the bracket looks a certain way. But to answer Victor's question, I don't think there's any way you can answer yes if Texas loses to Clemson, unless some crazy injury stuff happens and you're like, well, no one's winning that game. But I feel like there's no way to answer this question yes. I'm curious how y'all feel about it.
Yeah, I'd say no. Just the way I kind of viewed it looking at that bracket is if you lose a close game to Oregon, successful season. With Texas being ranked number 1 for the first time since 2008. And, now we're feeling like, all right, back-to-back 10-win seasons, first time since Mac Brown. The only other person to do that was Coach Royal. So people feel like Texas is quote-unquote back, right? The infamous quote. But, number 1 recruiting class with this loaded of a roster, number 1 defense in the country. Quinn Ewers' third year in the system, and last year being a play away from the national title. Semifinals, I think, or bust. It's got to be a top 4 team. It has to be a top 4 finish, and ideally, I think people would like to see a runner-up here at least. But I think this team is more of a semis team. I would be content with way things have played out down the stretch here with the Georgia games now on record. I think if they lost a good game to Oregon, that would be a successful season. But yeah, losing in upset fashion when they're going to be 10-point favorites in both these games would be unacceptable.
Okay, consider this. First year in the SEC, basically lose one game in your regular season. Hosting Georgia, the team you lost to in the SEC championship. You make it to the SEC championship in your first year. You have a roster littered with award winners this year. You have a unanimous All-American. You've got a consensus All-American. You've got a ton of All-SEC players. No, it would not be considered a successful season. If you were to ask Steve Sarkisian, he would tell you no. If you were to ask the leaders in this program, they would tell you no. On the surface, Texas did a lot of new, good, cool, great stuff this year. Don't forget, 2 weeks ago, they signed the number 1 class in 2025 in recruiting. I consider that part of the season as well. But at the end of the day, the expectations were way too much going into this. You had a third-year starting quarterback that should probably go in the first round. If he does or doesn't, he still should. You've got a number of other guys. They put 10, 11 in the draft last year. You're going to have another 6 or 7, possibly 8 in this year's next draft. Too much expectation. So many cool things happened this year. So many new places Texas got to travel to. Old rivalries got revived. Like, so much was great about this year that you could say, hey, this was successful. But if they lose on Saturday, as much as that stacks up, Joe's right. It's a strong no.
Trying to think of, and the point about the talent is what makes it that way. And it's just the way the sport is now. Like, you in years past, as early as 20 years ago, a loss in a conference title game meant that you had a great season and you just missed the big goal and you still went to a great bowl game.
Some teams also went to the national championship after losing.
Nebraska. 2001 before they got dog walked by the Canes, just to name
Oklahoma too, I think in 04 was it?
03, that was the three-peat, or the first year of the potential three-peat. Still, like, it was the way we think about success in college football at the level that Texas is in right now has changed to where Mac bragged about 10-win seasons because they were tough. Still meant he couldn't get over the Oklahoma ceiling. Still meant he wasn't playing for Big 12 titles. But we all remember those days fondly. But now the thing has changed so much to where Ole Miss may have just had one of since integration, which I think is a fair line of demarcation. Like, they may have had one of their top 5 seasons ever. And there are probably people sitting around Oxford thinking, like, wow, this was not what we wanted because they're not in the playoff. And it's 10-win season. Last year they had an 11-win season, weren't in the playoff. Like, the way things are is so much different than what it used to be that you almost have to take a college basketball approach to it. And granted, like, I'm someone who advocates, like, enjoy the regular season of college basketball. Like, if you win your regular season's conference championship in basketball, I feel like you should be pretty dang happy because it usually pretends postseason success. But what we all remember is if you how far you go in the tournament. And college football is moving that way. That's why Lamar Jackson's thought a certain way in the NFL. Like, he's going to win a third MVP, and the Ravens just kill it in the
Josh Allen.
Right, the Ravens just run through which one's that? NFC North?
AFC North.
AFC North. But then they just get to championship weekend, and they run into Mahomes. So, and those are successful seasons. He is great, but we think so differently about him. And I hate the butt rings argument, but we still think, like, Lamar Jackson hadn't played for a Super Bowl. And that affects how we think of him in college football in the same way, has moved that way. And kind of speaking similar, this from Wayne Watson, Quinn's legacy rests on the playoff results. I think how high his legacy can go rests on the playoff results. I think in the moment, there are some people, Quinn's the most polarizing guy in college football right now, at least in the Texas fan base. But Quinn has done phenomenal things for this program that we shouldn't lose sight of. But Justin, at the same time, people want a lot more, especially when we're talking about these standards and these desires for the program.
Yeah, like with 10 wins. What does 10 wins matter if you play 16 games? If you play 17 games that season, does the 10-win barrier mean much more? Same thing with Quinn Ewers.
You have to keep winning.
Yeah, same thing with Quinn Ewers. Like, it's only going to matter how far you go. He has done everything you ask a Texas quarterback to do except win the national championship. Think about it. What has he not accomplished that Texas fans have asked him to do for the last 3 years? He's beaten everybody he's supposed to. He's beaten every rival on the road. He's won big games on the road. He's owned Oklahoma for the most part. He's won a conference championship. He's played for another. Like, he's got one thing left. If he makes a run, I think the narrative will change a little bit. But let's just not forget, I still feel like Quinn Ewers is a really good quarterback. I think we dissect him way too much. And I think if there wasn't a kid named Arch Manning looming behind him, I think fans would be a little more easier on him, because Quinn's going to make about 10 to 12 throws a game that are just fantastic. And he's going to make 3 or 4 that make you shake your head. That's who he is. So just please accept it. Major Applewhite was brought up because of the way he brought Texas back against Colorado in the 2001 Big 12 championship, which I attended, and still to this day is the only game I've ever left in tears. But people don't forget. But people seem to forget. Major Apple, they went to the Holiday Bowl against Washington after that. Major Applewhite had 4 turnovers in the first half. Like, wow, Texas had this big comeback. Yeah, because Major put you in that position. He threw more picks than freaking Chris Sims did in that first half of the Holiday Bowl. They come back, they win. It was a lot of fun, blah, blah, blah. The Derek Johnson aura was created. Cody Pickett, quarterback, will never forget that. But Quinn's done everything Texas fans have asked him to do, except one thing. And if he can make a playoff run, by God, you got to tip your cap to that kid. You have to.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn's legacy, I think it's just kind of a victim of his time right now. And I think the Arch thing is definitely more in effect, and the fact that Texas's expectations have totally shifted, right? Like, just in the last couple of years, he happens to be a part of the first team to win the conference in 14 years, the first team to make the playoff, right? The first team in the SEC. But also, he's done a lot of great. He walked into Tuscaloosa and handed Saban his first loss since who? Joe Burrow. Like, that's not something.
His worst loss ever
worst loss.
In Tuscaloosa.
Worst loss at home. Even Manziel didn't beat him by that many. So, I mean, it's just Quinn, I think, is right now in recency bias. We're going, what about that throw against Georgia? But in 5-6 years, if Quinn makes it semis or farther, I think you're going to look at him in a good light. Even Sam, when he was playing, would catch some flack. And now it's
he would.
90 to 95% is positive, because you tend to reminisce, right? As Justin points out, Major Applewhite, I'll see people, I wasn't around back then or cognizant of football, but I'll see people comment Major Applewhite, and then I'll go look up his stats, and I'm like, whoa. And because people just get nostalgic. So I think if Quinn can just make a run, I like him as a guy. He's really, done great. He's done everything and beaten everybody he's supposed to, right? Except, Georgia. And who's beaten Georgia besides Alabama in 4 years? Just Ole Miss once, right? So Georgia's been elite. And Quinn got us really, really close. And if they're running for 3.5 yards a carry or hit a field goal more, they win, okay? So, I mean, Quinn is, and Justin just painted a good picture of it. He's that guy who made that rollout throw where you're like, holy crap, like he made that rollout throw against Georgia, I think, to DeAndre Moore. He made another throw to
Matthew Golden.
To Golden, where you're just, oh yeah, that's the kid who was the number 1 quarterback in his class. But then, he'll make a couple where he gets rattled. And Quinn is what he is, which is, probably top 5 to 6 college quarterback in the country right now. Because Carson Beck's doing the same dang thing, and Cam Ward, who's probably better than all of them, will still throw it into triple coverage. So it's just, Quinn's great, but yeah, he makes some boneheaded plays at times, but I think we have to appreciate Quinn for what Quinn has done and what he's been, and some of these great memories you're going to have. That Big 12 title, that win in Tuscaloosa, the first win at Arkansas, the first win at A&M, coming back into the new conference with old rivals. So Quinn's done a lot of good. We gotta love him, but
Quentin, thank you for tuning in. This channel, this website has criticized and dissected Quinn's play and Steve Sarkisian's utilization of Quinn as much as anybody. You can still do that, see him miss throws, see him throw bad turnovers, throw pick sixes, put Texas in games in tough situations.
Right.
And this isn't doing the quarterback wins thing, because that's, whatever. Malik Murphy's 9-3, and it's not because of Malik Murphy.
yeah.
But you can look at all the problems Quinn has caused this team and also realize, because the margins are fine at this high level that Texas is at, Quinn Ewers is part of the big reason why Texas is at that level. I just wanted to address that, because it's like, oh, you're pandering to Quinn, or oh, you're
Quinn needs to watch
It's
Ian Boyd on this show.
Ian and Paul will tell you.
Listen, Ian was the biggest supporter of Sam Ehlinger, and one of the biggest, and remains it. He was the biggest supporter of Quinn Ewers until about 2 months ago. Until we realized he's hit his ceiling, and so that it's definitely not pandering. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's a good point. You take the good and bad. It's a team sport, and quarterback's going to have that magnified, but
there you go.
It's not all Quinn. I do want to get back to this one, James, and we can probably wrap up on this one. Can Quinn get it done without Texas being able to run the ball consistently? I feel like he can't improvise enough. But here's the thing. The only teams that Texas has just really failed to run against is Georgia. Yeah. And I know Clemson's got a good front. Michigan has an All-American on that front.
Michigan ran the ball pretty well. That are going to play on Sundays.
Ran the ball to a good with good effect.
Ohio State couldn't run the ball against Michigan.
Yeah, and they got Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. Those are two great running backs.
That are going to get drafted.
Right. You have hope. Maybe not faith, maybe not certainty, but you have hope that this offensive line can do a little bit better against a non-Kirby Smart front.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that the answer to that is no, but he could get it done in round 1 and 2, right? They could win the game how they beat Arkansas. They could win the game how they beat A&M. But if they go up against Oregon, they play Georgia again, they play even, someone like Notre Dame. If they're running for 2.7 yards a carry, you're not winning the game, right? No. And so to go back to Quentin saying, we're kind of glazing Quinn. Yeah, I mean, it's like, why aren't we talking about the 2.7 yards a carry, right? Why aren't we talking about the missed kicks? So I think Quinn, yeah, he can't improvise. That is true, and that's why people are so excited about Arch, because that's not Quinn's game. He can't make the most out of the least. Is typically, he's not a guy who's throwing guys open a lot of times, and that's what people are hoping a more mobile quarterback can do, is make the plays happen when things are busted. So that's kind of what Klubnik does well over at Clemson sometimes. But yeah, Quinn is what he is. We love him, and we appreciate what he's done. But yeah, let's just hope he's on, and Sark's game planning right, and the O-line's pushing up to the second level, and we're getting good interior blocking, and we're able to run into the teeth of some of these defenses. I hope it's going to be a good team performance. Defense is always going to show up, but we're going to need the run game. We're going to need the special teams to be better.
And I think this team is different when Trey Wisner goes over 100 yards.
Yeah.
I think they take on kind of his identity, and it's almost a defensive mindset of just dog running through whatever it takes kind of mentality. Quinn's going to be Quinn, but if you give Trey Wisner 100 yards, man, Texas is going to be tough to beat.
I think our guy David
Quinn's
yes. I'm with you, David. Let's get him to 1,200. He's going to need to play about 3 or 4 more games, but that's in front of him. So let me know when we're about to get out of here, Joe, because I have one final question for you.
Go for it. Let's do it.
Nolan Arenado, all-star third baseman. Why in the world would he reject a trade to Houston? He has a no-trade clause. And he was going to waive it for a team that he felt was a contender or a franchise that he felt like was worthy. And Houston didn't measure up. What happened?
I wonder if Scott Boras is also his agent and maybe knows something. But I don't know. That's a great question. I'm trying to – maybe they told him, like, hey, you're going to be playing both corner infield spots, and he's not into that. So maybe that's an aspect.
I'll say this. They got a third baseman from the Cubs, and Cam Smith, who is going to be tremendous. Let me tell you something. That Kyle Tucker trade was a win-win for both. Wazinski is a great pitcher. Pedradas can play first base. Like, I think both teams won on that. Plus, you don't have to give Tucker $350 million. Sorry for the little sidebar, but I don't get to see Joe that much anymore.
I miss Kyle Tucker. I'm an Astros fan, so.
Well, trust me, I think Houston did really well on that. Instead of having to give that guy $250 million, they actually got 3 really good young players that can contribute quickly. Cam Smith is going to be a dude, and we talk about that at InsideTexas.com every day, even in the baseball thread.
Yes, and, sir. James, I need you to put on your salesman hat real quick because we have some cool stuff going on Instagram as well.
Oh, yeah, guys. So we have been partnering with Academy Sports and Outdoors, and we're actually doing a giveaway, right? So we're giving away free stuff. We, partner with them, and we're thinking, how can we help out Texas fans? What can we do to give them free stuff? That's always our goal. We appreciate the support. We want to be able to give you guys some of the love, and it's Christmas season. There's no place better than Academy Sports and Outdoors. I don't know about you guys. I grew up going to Academy. Justin's got a kid who's in Little League. No Little Leaguer likes anything more than Big League Chew, all right? And so with Academy, we've got 5 $50 gift cards that we're giving away on Instagram, and then I'll be doing 5 in person. But on the Instagram, head over to Inside Texas and read the description. We've got a fun little kind of contest we're doing. Go out to your local Academy, inside, take a picture with your horns up, and just give the hashtag Inside Academy. Maybe show off your favorite flavor of Big League Chew, favorite cleats you like there. I just know I love Academy going in there. It smells like an airport mixed with a new car, mixed with new shoes. I mean, it's heaven. As a kid playing sports, you love it. Now as an adult, I go get shoes there. I go shoot hoops. You can get all your rifles there. Anything you need, hunting.
Stock up for guns.
Yeah. I mean, people think the apocalypse is coming. Go get some ammo. Go get some Big League Chew so you don't get bored if the power goes out.
Some Big League Chew.
I'm a Big League Chew guy, right? But, I mean, I love Academy Sports and Outdoors, so they don't have to pay us to say that. We already shop there, right? But you should too. Go over to the Instagram, check it out, find out a way that you can get a free $50 gift card. Do all your Christmas shopping there. You can get everything under the sun for kids and parents alike. Academy is the place to be. So go check out Inside Texas on Instagram, guys. Give us a follow. And, participate in that contest because we'd love to give some of you guys some gift cards. It's a fun little giveaway we're doing. And also make sure you're subscribed to Inside Texas. If you're not right now, click it, tell 5 friends. And, yes, Academy does sell Big Red Soda, David, at the checkout. Thank you, guys. Subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, Inside Texas.
Couldn't say it better myself. Head to InsideTexas.com. 1 week for $1. Get yourself to Christmas. You'll want to give the gift of it to yourself after that. Gentlemen, thank you. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.